So one more short bit here that I need to cover, and that's a couple different problems that we want to talk about, and that's how to calculate the front end and back end ratio um, for a person's financial situation, for a person's house, right? Determining, is the house that I'm interested in buying actually a good fit for me financially, or should I consider some other options? So the challenge with these problems is that they are dense, they are word problems, so there's a lot going on here. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so I make sure everything fits. Um, so some things I need to really consider is breaking down the problem, isolating the important information, and writing it off to the side. So we're looking for a new home. We know that our adjusted gross income is given here. It's $135,511. We know that our mortgage payment for the house, which is monthly, that's important, is $1,233. We know that property taxes are annual, they're $9,400. We know that homeowners insurance is $876 per year, so these are all critical here. And what are we being asked to do? We're being asked to determine their front end ratio, and do we think that a bank would approve the Madeiras for a loan to buy the house? All right, well, the first thing we need to think about, right, is we're talking about the front end ratio here. So we're talking about just housing. So I want to know my total monthly housing expenses. Looking at that relative to my monthly gross income. The operative word here, the key word here, is monthly, which means anything I have that is not currently monthly, right? Anything given not monthly needs to be converted. So let's take this one piece at a time. So my gross income is $135,511. That's annual, so I need to convert that to months. Right, so to do that, I'm just going to divide by 12. 135,511 divided by 12. So I'm going to get 11,292.58 per month, which is not bad. So we're going to hang on to that for a minute. I'm going to look at my mortgage payment. That's already monthly, which is great. Right, that's $1,233, so that can just stay the way it is. I'm moving it over anyway, just for the sake of keeping these organized. I have property taxes. Those are annual, so $9,400 a year is $783.33 a month. And my homeowners insurance is also annual. That's $876 per year, which is $73 a month. Even if some of these aren't paid monthly in reality, just for the sake of calculation, we still need to convert that way. Right? Things like property taxes are usually paid quarterly instead, but for the sake of calculation here, we need to convert to months. So let's go back to my calculations on the right here. Total monthly housing expenses to my monthly gross income. Well, we know my monthly gross income is $11,292.58. And then my total monthly housing expenses is going to be the sum of everything else. So I'm going to add those all together. Right, so I'm going to add, I'll pick a new color here. Add all of these together to get $20.89.33. Well, now I have a ratio, I can just divide. And I get 18.5%. So would the bank approve the Medeiros for a loan to buy the house? Well, if you remember, my ballpark for front end ratio is 28%. So yeah, I'd say we're pretty good, and I would say yeah. The bank would approve the Medeiros to buy a loan for the house because my front end ratio is much lower than the ballpark. Realistically, if they wanted to, they could probably look at an even more expensive house and be okay with it. So we're going to do a similar thing here, but take it in a little bit more detail. And before I do, because we're going to talk about the back end ratio, I just need to clarify something from the previous video. And I'm going to try to make a note of it in the previous video and just put a little card up on the screen, which is something that I kind of mixed up in passing, talking about combining front end and back end ratio. And that's that the back end ratio actually does include or account for your housing costs and your housing expenses. Right. One thing we're going to need to look at is kind of the back end ratio is an estimate of if I take on this additional housing debt, how much of my monthly gross income is going to housing. And the bank says no more than 36% roughly, because you want enough of your income to have left over for those other things that are important, right? Food, clothes, supporting a family, having money just for security, for like an emergency fund, things like that. We're going to follow the same process. We're going to go through. I'm just going to highlight everything first, isolate what's important. So considering buying a house, we have an adjusted gross income of $166,988. That's annual. We will write this all out later. Their monthly mortgage payment, that's important that it's monthly, is $1,544. Their annual property taxes, so annual is important here, are $9,888. And of course, the annual homeowners insurance is $1,007. We have even more information, right? In addition to all of this, they have a $510 monthly car payment. They have an average monthly credit card bill of $5,100. Yikes. Notice it says average. Again, a lot of this is just estimate. What are we being asked to do? Determine their front end and back end ratio. 2 questions. Is this house affordable? And should they purchase now? This is what we talked about with the front end and back end ratio from before. So let's do my front end ratio first. I'm looking at my monthly housing debt, or housing expenses, I suppose, relative to my monthly gross income. So let's start isolating information. We have an annual income, $166,988. That's annual. So monthly, we're looking at $13,915 and 67 cents per month. Their mortgage is already monthly. Right, that's already monthly. I'm just going to carry it over for the sake of looking complete. We have property taxes, $9,888, which is $824 a month. So I'm just kind of converting everything as we go. I'll try to get some timestamps up if you feel comfortable with this problem and want to skip ahead a little bit. Homeowners insurance is annual. Is $1,007 a year, so $83.92 per month. Let's just get everything listed out now, just so we have it on hand. But things we won't need yet, right, because they don't pertain to the house, is a car payment of $510 a month. And a credit card bill on average $5,100 a month. Great. These don't have anything to do with the house, so we'll leave those alone for now. So you can kind of see this clear split then between housing related and non-housing related. Non-housing related. Okay, so we'll start with my front end ratio. Monthly housing expenses to my total gross, my monthly gross income. So my monthly gross income is just right there, my 13,915.67, and my monthly housing expenses, so I'm just going to add these all up. So 1544 plus 824 plus 83.92, so I get 2451.92, which on the front end gives me a ratio of 17.62%. And you usually go out to the 100th of a percentage point like we do here. Great, so I'm just going to highlight this so I remember to come back to it. But let's consider my back end ratio now too. Monthly total debt, so the key word here is total debt, factoring in for this house to my monthly gross income. So remember, that's the key word here that I kind of misspoke in the last video. Total debt including our existing house or projected housing expenses. So, whoops, I didn't want to change colors yet. So again, my monthly gross income is the same, 13,915.67. And now my back end ratio, my total debt, so I'm going to add everything up with from my mortgage down to the credit card, all of it. So 1544, whoops, 824, 83.92, 510, and 5100. And I get a a monthly total debt of 8,061.92. So on the back end, that leaves me with a ratio of 57.93%. So let's interpret what this means. So what is the front end ratio telling me? Well, the front end ratio is telling me that 17.62% of, I'll just use MGI for monthly gross income, would be going toward housing costs. The bank says, yes, this is affordable. This is really good. This is within my 28% ballpark, so we're great. On the back end, though, this is saying if I account for all of my existing debt plus the housing debt, then almost 60% of my monthly gross income is going toward debt. I can think about this as just 57% of my monthly gross income I owe to somebody else. This is no good, right? This is not under my 36% benchmark or even anywhere close to it. So this is not great, right? This is not good at all. So I would say yes, the house is affordable. But should I buy it now? Probably not. The back end ratio is too high. If I wanted to think about some things I could do to get this back end ratio down, I mean, I go right for the fact that my credit card bill, now you can't see that all that well, can you? Let's try yellow. Yeah, that works. So you can see that my credit card bill on average is $5,100 a month. That's sky high. So anything I can do maybe to reduce this would be beneficial. So my suggestion might be to lower your credit card bill. Right, there's a lot of information to process. This is like a lot of the other problems that we see in financial, where the math itself is not necessarily difficult, just a lot of addition and division. But interpreting it is the key. So interpreting these problems and understanding what the numbers mean and how to use it is key to solving the problem successfully.